the dish.
When Apollo 11 gets to the moon, Parkes will now be the prime receiving station.
Meaning?
We've got the moonwalk.
Shit. The people of this place, they know what they're doing?
I believe so.
Bloody well hope so. Why'd they pick us?
Turns out it's the largest radio telescope in the Southern Hemisphere.
What's it doing in the middle of a sheep paddock?
It's July 1969, and NASA is sending its first manned spaceship to the moon. The New South Wales town of Parkes is agog with excitement because just outside the town, the giant radio telescope is tracking Apollo 11. The small staff at the dish consists of 4 Australians: newly widowed Cliff, Sam Neill; laid-back Mitch, Kevin Harrington; painfully shy Glenn, Tom Long; and security guard Rudy, Taylor Kane, who seems to be watching too many American TV cop shows. There's also NASA rep Al, Patrick Warburton. While the Mayor of Parkes, Roy Billings, welcomes the VIPs to the town, the pressure is on at the dish.
Mission Control.
Enjoying your stay in Australia, Al?
Very much, sir. The people are all warm
And friendly. That's great. And just finally, I mean, no offence, but when you think about it, the Americans spend 10 years, billions of dollars to let us watch man walk on the moon, and in the end it falls to you blokes. I mean, how do you feel about that? A lot better before you opened your trap.
The dish beautifully captures a time of transition in Australia when the ordinary battler could still fulfil his dream. It's a similar theme to that of The Castle, the first film by Rob Sitch and his working dog team, but far, far more successfully handled here. These are wonderful characters, beautifully, subtly drawn and played, and the film is much more than a comedy. Though the outcome is well known, there's suspense and a sense of wonder here as these small-town blokes become a crucial cog in one of the most exciting moments in recent history. A minor quibble: music is overused, especially near the end. But that aside, no one should miss this sweet-natured, laconic, emotionally gripping and very Australian film. Margaret.
That's what you get out of it. You come out and you just, I don't know whether it's sort of like an afterglow from the Olympics as well, but you know, there is that nourishment of everything that makes us what we are. You know, that quirky, you know, chip on shoulder, you know, the mayor and his wife who tells him to get his elbows off the table at dinner with the American ambassador. I mean, it's just so
all the jokes against ourselves.
Yeah, but absolutely rejoicing in who we are. And I mean, to look at this sort of like massive event, like the man walking on the moon for the first time, through this microcosm of quintessentially us, so well handled.
Yeah.
I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful Australian film. 4.5 stars from me.
4.5 from me too.
You've lost Apollo 11.
Yep.
Southern Hemisphere's prime receiving station has no idea where Apollo 11 is.
Yeah, it's on its way to the moon.
Computer can't lock us back on?
No, once it loses power, it loses data.
I thought we had an uninterruptible power source.
Well, no, it was designed as a UPS, but you see, the generator didn't kick back in.
How come?
Well, it just didn't, Al, that's all. Look, the power's back on, everything's under control.
Except we've lost Apollo 11.
Well, except for that.
Sitch has got wonderful performances out of all of his performers. And we spoke to him and Kevin Harrington, who's well known to TV audiences for his role in Sea Change, about the ingredients mixed up to make the dish.
We spent literally years researching it, but we kept making creative choices along the way. We would see, there's beautiful newsreels of some of these people, and you would see a moment, the way that they looked at the camera, the way they spoke about the humility came through. And we'd incorporate that into the characters and then divide them and try to examine what happens when people are pushed beyond their capabilities.
We just got word from Houston. Let's go for launch.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Every person you meet is kind of innocent in that 1969 way, but absolutely awestruck by the vastness of the task. And I'm sure that reads for audiences. They just see such a great sense of universal wonder among everybody who's a participant in that movie. And obviously there's self-effacing bits of humour to undercut that, but I reckon there's a sense of wonder in that movie that's what makes it most most attractive and most universal.
In a few days' time, we'll be watching television pictures from the surface of the moon.
Slap bang in the middle of it.
I must stress, these are not to scale.
Also, when we went to the dish, every single person had the same reaction. Everyone went. I even dragged my little nephew out, and he had looked forward to it for weeks, and he couldn't go near it because it was so intimidating.
They get on so well among themselves. You know, there's never any blues or any disputes. And over the years, they seem to have accumulated crew through their tally experience, I suppose, who are like-minded as well. So there's this great relaxed sense of fun happening throughout the whole project. And well, that's a fantastic environment to do any comedy in. You know, knowing that there's going to be laughs happening and stuff. It's very supportive.
You've got a visitor. It's the ambassador of the United States of America.
Oh, God. Space Nut knows everything about Apollo 11.
You know where it is?
At the end of last century, people said, what was the greatest event in the 20th century? And they said, man on the moon. And it was an act of peace. In a way, it was hijacked by people. It started out of the space race, and the people hijacked it. And NASA realised it wasn't about science, and it was really about watching man step foot.
You know what people said when I proposed, Parks?
That you were grandstanding, that it was a self-serving stunt to big note yourself.
Who said that?
In some ways, we felt like custodians of a feeling. You know, I said to the others at one time, I said, if we can get the feeling into the film, that feeling, most recently we saw it with Kathy Freeman, suddenly a whole nation stops and has exactly the same experience, an act of peace, and this was replicated all over the world. The world stopped.
This was in 1969. With 1969 technology, they put a man on the moon. He walked on it, got in, and came back. I mean, wow.